welcome to episode 38 of Karlene's Anime Corner. I am here once again with Zoe and Keith because we are going to be talking about the second half of the Trigun 1998 anime. Zoe, you're brimming over there with excitement, so I'm going to guess you definitely did something nerdy since last time we got together.
I did a lot of things nerdy. I'm going to condense it short because I really want to get into talking about the show, but basically I went to MegaCon Orlando. It was a lot of fun. I spent too much money.
That happens at cons.
But I didn't spend as much money as I thought I would. I came in with $200 in cash and came out with $150 left.
Okay, that's a miracle. I went in with $200 in cash and went to the ATM and got more.
Yeah, there's so much stuff
it was partially because I wasn't able to go into the artist alley because I spent all my time at panels.
Well, at cons I tend to stash money. I've only gone to really small local cons, which also helps. There's not quite as much to buy. But I made one guy at a stand very happy because I was standing there looking at two things, and he was like, "Can I help you?" I was like, "No, I'm just trying to make up my mind which one I want to buy, and I think I've just decided I'm getting both." He
Why
was
not?
like, "I wish more people would shop like you."
Right.
But I will say, I bought my first figure. Looks pretty good. I like it. Her name is Jolene Kuja from JoJo. I love her. But other than that, I also went to a Wilco concert yesterday. I'm wearing the shirt right now. It was insane. I loved it. The crowd was dead for some reason. I hated it. They were all I don't think anybody there was under the age of 40. And they just sat in their seats the entire time until they brought in this Jacksonville guy that I didn't recognize. My parents lost their mind over when they came in. It was Derek Trucks or something like that.
I don't know.
Darren Trucks.
Local favorite, though.
He was a local favorite. He was
Okay.
My mom called him St. Augustine royalty, so apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
And that got everyone out of their seats, so that was nice.
Yeah, I don't know much about local music scene, so I don't know who he
I'll
is
have
either.
to ask for clarification.
So, Mr. Keith, what have you been up to anything since last time we got together? Other than watching more Trigun.
Watching more Trigun, yeah. But I blew through this half of the season way quicker than the first half. And
it definitely speeds up and ramps up fast.
The linearity of the story made me really want to see the next episode immediately.
It was very hard to not binge.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Still working your way through your manga.
Through Aizukin, yeah, still reading that. Berserk, still trying. So
it's
a long quest.
Still trying to get that volume for you.
Yeah, it's in high demand. It is.
It is. I have a friend in the recording studio with us right now. His name is Reggie the Second, and he's a monarch caterpillar. So he's been kind of my nerdy thing. He's been traveling with me to and from work, and I have a milkweed plant on my desk that he lives on, so I get to watch him chowing down all the time.
I got a caterpillar.
So I have a caterpillar. He doesn't make a lot of noise. It's kind of nice.
How long will it take until he transforms? Do we know? Or
Probably a while.
I did know last year when I had a caterpillar, but I have forgotten. It only takes a few weeks. It's not that long because
he's growing pretty quickly.
Yeah, he'll probably triple in size.
Okay.
So because they get really I don't know about what
plump,
4 inches long and really plump, and then they turn into a chrysalis, and the chrysalis takes the longest. I think it's 2-3 weeks they're in a chrysalis.
Mm-hmm.
But also, speaking of new friends, I got a new kitty. Her name is Cleopatra Sprinkles. And calling her aggressively affectionate is an understatement.
She demands your attention.
She quite literally demands your attention. You cannot sit down without her approaching you and jumping on your body. Like a dang springboard.
Well, since we're all really eager to talk about what we watched here, let's go ahead and dive into it. I'm going to go ahead and skip the whole summary of the show because we kind of laid that out a little bit here. We are picking up with Vash, where he has just succeeded in not killing the guy who killed half the town.
That was tough, though.
Yeah.
It was a little tough.
It was a little tough. But somehow that's the one thing about Vash that I find fascinating is you say things about him and you're like, that just doesn't sound right.
Right? Come on, man.
He is dedicated to his pacifism.
He really is.
And apparently he is now, I think we pick up with him actively going to try and hunt down his...
Yeah, I forget where we exactly left off, because did we have the one where he wakes up in the other town yet in the first half, or no?
That was a little
second
bit
half.
later.
Yes,
That was second half.
Yeah.
Where he's in disguise.
Episode 14 is
yeah.
the weird one where he pretty much doesn't show up at all.
Okay,
That's
yes.
the Millie and
Meryl
episode.
It's like a recap, kind of.
Well, no, that was the one where they protect the old guys with the trees.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
the recap was the
that
last
weird
one.
little
Yeah,
episode.
Yeah.
that was a weird little interlude episode. I didn't really like it all that much. It didn't feel like it fit with anything.
We got
little filler-ish.
we got to return
Yeah.
to the Nebraska family.
Yes, we
It
did.
was really
Yes, we
weird.
did.
Yep.
It was
But-
really weird.
But yeah, so Vash is now on his trek to try and track down his brother and end what's happening because
And a lot
Bad
of
things.
things happen during this. What's the name of that group? It's like
Oh.
8, the evil 8 or something.
the Gung
The
Ho
Gung
Guns,
Ho
The Gung Ho Guns.
Yes.
which sounds way more lighthearted than it
Than they
should for
are,
this group.
yeah.
Considering what they do, yeah.
We also get to learn Vash's backstory in this one. Yes,
Right.
where we find out that he's one of these plants, which a plant is, if you watch the series really closely, which I did not catch all of this, I have to admit, the first time I watched it, you notice that there's a creature in the giant light bulb.
So it's like a biological power plant.
like- a
Well,
living
and some
energy-
guy, I think it was Brad, mentioned that they were beings beyond space and time, and Vash keeps calling the one that he sees sister. So,
So they're like beings of pure energy, almost.
yeah.
So like
Right.
biblically, I'm getting like biblically accurate angels kind of vibes with this, especially
A
with
little
some
bit.
later reveals.
Yeah. So, but apparently Vash and his brother are plants
Mhm.
that are not contained and they can walk around and they're independent.
So they're basically walking nuclear reactors.
Yes.
Yes.
With the like the danger of going off.
Yes.
With
With-
any
and that
provocation.
happens.
And it happens.
It
multiple
happens.
times.
It happens.
Multiple
Oh, it
times,
happens.
But-
yeah.
So what this means, though, in essence, is we find out that Vash literally grows up within like a year.
Yeah, he was
So, because he was a
Because they
baby,
mention he's
and within a
accelerated,
year,
yeah.
he's like,
like
12.
like 12.
Yeah.
And then in another year, he's in his 20s, and then he stops
And then
aging.
he stops. Yeah.
So
that was
I don't know if we ever laid out in the last episode, but in this anime, Vash is about 130 years old.
Mhm.
And he looks like he's like in his mid-20s.
Yeah, he just stopped aging.
He just stopped
Yeah.
aging, which makes the whole romance thing with him and Meryl a little like
Right.
A
You're
little
like
weird. Like,
You're
how
like-
are you gonna gauge? Is it like mental aging?
you're like 5
or
times your
like-
age. dude.
Well, it's also just think about it this way. I mean, he's pretty much in essence immortal unless
Mhm.
somebody shoots him and kills him, because we have verified that he can be injured and hurt, and he doesn't like magically heal. Is he just gonna sit there and watch Meryl grow old?
Right? It's kind of like
That's
you know,
that's a little messed up.
like vampires and everything. Yeah, they're always
it's like, and I'm like,
you really?
it's
Yeah.
kind of a good thing. Spoiler at the very end of this season, he pretty much walks off into the sunset. So sunset. So they never have to verify that.
Sort of. He
Sort
walks
of.
into a town carrying
Yeah.
his brother on his shoulder.
But they
like a
never
sack of
really
potatoes.
show anything that happens.
Yeah, they just
No,
kinda
I don't.
So-
It's kind of
tease it a
ended at
little,
that.
yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
pretty good ending though.
Pretty
I
good.
like the ending.
I will
yeah.
say, I was a little upset the first time I watched it because I was like, I want to know if he actually convinces Knives to stop killing everybody.
Right? They do leave it where you're
Because they
like,
leave
it's
it
not-
where, okay, he's incapacitated right now, but what happens when he gets better?
Yeah, like he didn't seem like he was willing to change his mind that quickly.
I like to think that Vash just knocks him out again
Every time he wakes
wakes up. Or he like puts him in one of those power plant machines and just lets him sit there for a
Right?
bit.
We got a new power plant, everyone. Don't ask where it came from.
From.
This one's a lot stronger than the other one.
So the other thing, though, is on that last episode, Millie and them digging for a well for water. And up until now, we've only seen them say water comes from the plants.
hmm
So I wonder if that isn't the beginning of them finding a way to survive on this planet without the plants. Because
Could
the
be,
maybe
plants,
yeah.
maybe like they need the plants for like filtration or something.
yeah,
I don't know.
because the plants are dying.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
make that
we've
very
seen-
clear
we've
that
seen that,
they're
yeah.
running out of energy and they can't keep going.
Oh, should we bring up like the whole origin of this planet and stuff too? Because that kind of ties into all this really well.
Yeah. Okay. So the second half of the episode finally gives you all the backstory you've been wanting to know about Vash and still doesn't tell you enough.
It still leaves some gaps. Yeah, there's still some
Still
like,
leaves
what?
gaps, but like they're in a way that you can really have fun imagining
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
things
Yes.
went.
yeah.
They left good gaps. Let's call it that. So Vash and Knives,
Millions Knives.
Millions Knives.
That's his name.
I love that.
Right?
I'm sorry.
They really leaned into it in the Stampede remake too.
Well, and there, if you notice, we'll talk about Stampede later. Sorry.
Sorry.
We're
But,
not
yeah,
rabble
but
trailing there.
It's more of a nickname than
It's
his
more of a
actual
nickname
name.
than his actual
Yeah,
name.
Yeah.
But Vash and Millions Knives are discovered in this glowing region, which I'm going to guess is a spaceship's plant.
Yeah, I was a little murky on like where they were found because
Yeah.
they mentioned finding them, and you see they're like almost in a tank or something.
Yeah.
But you don't
Like,
really
are they like a race of like dead aliens?
Yeah,
Or were they being used by another ship? Or
And then they mentioned that, but it sounds like they were found on their ship, and he keeps calling the plant sister, and everything I've seen seems to imply that he is a plant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
he is a power plant.
He is a power
So
plant.
I wonder if they went in to repair something on their power plant and found the 2 kids there, like, spontaneously
It had like
made.
replicated or something.
Yeah.
Could be.
You just like cell division, just like
Yeah.
2 of them now.
When one
Two
dies,
babies.
it makes more.
2 babies.
Yeah.
And then Rem goes ahead and she pretty much adopts these babies and decides
Rem is
to...
the worker on the human ship, by the
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
She's one of their biologists, from what I understand.
Yeah.
It looks like.
So basically, we should go into like what the ship is. Like basically, they're on a ship that's carrying like a bunch of cryogenically frozen humans.
Yeah, to repopulate, right? A new
because
planet.
they have stripped all their resources from Earth, so they're trying to find a new home for humans. And it's actually not just one ship. You find out there's a whole
They're
fleet
like a colony.
of
There's
them.
like a lot of them.
A lot of them. And it's called Project Seeds.
Which makes sense.
Makes sense.
Makes
Yeah,
sense, makes
reseed
sense.
a planet.
And they find these babies. Rem Savarem is raising them, and Vash has definitely latched onto her as his parental
Mother figure,
and almost God in a way, because he takes every word she says like it is the last word,
gospel.
like he has to follow her words, which at times kind of disturbs me a little bit.
He really, she could do no wrong.
I was
in his
like,
eyes,
130 years on, and you're still stuck on like
Talk about mommy issues.
yeah.
And then there's Knives, who's kind of
The
a little
complete opposite
indifferent.
in some ways.
He also seems to like Rem, but like
He seems to like Rem. But the problem that they run into is that there are members of the crew who literally physically abuse these kids.
Yeah, that one guy.
Especially one guy,
him,
but I think some of the others probably do too.
Or
There's
if not even physical, just verbal.
verbally.
Like they
they're
really
calling
don't like
them monsters and stuff like that.
which is just really uncalled for.
Yeah, because they are definitely not human. They have able to do a lot of the computer processes a lot faster than all the other humans on board. They're growing at an extraordinary rate. They're learning at an extraordinary rate.
So it probably comes from like fear or something like that.
And
You
so
don't
I'm
really
going to guess
understand
just
what they are.
completely freaks them out. Vash chooses, I think, in a way, to latch onto Rem to the point that he follows her, that he doesn't allow the dislike or hatred of the rest of the crew to infringe on him.
Knives, though.
Knives
on the other hand.
internalizes it to the point that he decides all humans must die.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only reason why he was willing to possibly save Rem was because Vash liked her.
Yeah, he really does some like machinations to make that happen too on the ship. He doesn't just start like randomly killing people.
He does like
he frames people. He pits
does
people
mental
against
games.
each other.
He actually gets them to like start killing
each other. He's devious, right?
Yeah, he's too smart for his own good, really. And Vash is just kind of freaking out the whole time.
Yeah,
He doesn't know.
he doesn't know
He's
what's going
just
on.
as oblivious as everybody else.
Now, I also like this episode because it explains why he wears a red coat, which I thought that was kind of a cool little thing,
detail.
particularly when at the end he dresses himself in his red coat for the last time. He does the whole like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to go face things and other thing. Because Rem's favorite flower is a geranium, and she has one, I guess, in stasis she's showing them. And she explains that the geranium, which is a bright red flower, in the language of flowers, it means determination. Vash starts wearing a red coat show his determination.
And he gets his haircut from Rem, too.
Yes,
That's
and he gets his
right,
haircut
yes.
from Rem.
Yeah.
Knives cut his own hair.
Yeah.
There
So
you go.
again, that separation from everybody else and all the other humans. So I thought the anime did a really good job in setting up how different the two are, even though they're twins.
Yeah,
And they didn't like info dump on you and
No.
stuff.
No, they
they
show-
let you fill in the gaps yourself.
Yeah.
They show little situations like that scene with the spider,
And the butterfly.
where Knives has no hesitation in killing the bug. Vash is like freaking out about it.
Well, and I love that scene because that does explain the whole difference in their philosophies. It's like Knives is like, I will save the butterfly
exactly
by killing the spider.
Yeah.
Which is what, in a way, you want Vash to do during this entire
There are
second
some
half.
times where you're
it's just like,
screaming at
will
him,
you
like-
just shoot the guy
Right.
and be done with it?
I know, like you could save millions of
he's
lives.
really
He's
dedicated.
But
committed.
Vash
He's
wants
committed.
to save everyone.
Yes.
And he refuses to acknowledge that he can't.
You can't always save everyone.
And
not everyone wants to be saved.
And that leads to my
Yeah.
favorite scene in the entire series.
What was that?
So let's go into a lead up for this. So Blue Summers.
Legato Blue Summers.
Legato.
That weirdo, the dude who got his fashion sense from a Final Fantasy DVD he found in the Goodwill.
Yep, and
So-
who is almost a worse psychopath than Knives.
Yes.
Oh yeah, because the thing is, let's say there's an episode after. So basically, Vash, he fights the gung ho guns, and he ends up going nuclear.
Yes.
He gets this
Literally.
little, what's it called, the angel arm.
The
Angel
arms.
arm, and he
Yeah.
shoots a hole in the fifth moon.
His arm
Yeah, the
turns into
moon.
an actual biblically accurate angel, complete with like 4 faces and wings and stuff.
That's not until the end of series.
No, that's not. Okay, never mind.
That's not until the last episode.
Big gun,
But
big
the-
gun
it's
arm.
just like
see a big
giant
gun
root
with, like,
kinda
Big gun arm
almost. Yeah.
explodes, destroys, levels the city, and
The
because of
whole-
that, he's so freaked out he goes into hiding. He kind of disguises himself with another person inside of
Mhm.
another town.
Mhm.
He's still his goofy self and does some dumb stuff. But
It doesn't take him long.
during this, after this, I think, he runs into Blue Summers again, and Blue Summers is doing his mind control thing, where he's kind of dragging people around.
It's disturbing stuff.
Yeah,
like
he's
making
making
kill
people
themselves,
move
talk
and-
to Vash.
And like, there's a
Yeah,
scene
it's-
where
it's
he
messed
kind
up.
of gets all the townspeople to start attacking Millie and Meryl,
like a
and
mob.
he
Yeah.
and he basically corners Vash and says, "If you want me to stop, you'll have to kill me."
He makes Vash's hand point the gun at him, but he does not control Vash's trigger finger because he told him it's of your own free will if you
Mhm.
shoot me, and he made that very clear.
He set up that whole scenario to
Just-
test Vash.
Well,
and see how
he
far
set
he
it
could
up
push him.
wanting Vash to kill him because
Exactly.
remember he promised Knives, "I will make him suffer like
Yeah,
he
no,
has
he-
never suffered."
He wanted
before."
Vash to give
And-
in,
and he
Vash,
did.
And he does.
Vash
He has
did it,
to.
Vash
and
did it.
It
It's-
completely destroys him.
It
broke
And
him.
my favorite scene is when he's waking up in the recovery room, and Meryl checks up on him, and he's quiet. He doesn't say he
Mhm.
doesn't really say anything beyond like normal greetings. And then she leaves, and she closes the door, and he just screams.
He breaks
Yeah, he's
down
wailing,
completely.
crying.
He
Yeah, he's
loses
sobbing.
So I
it.
don't know if you watched the scene in English or Japanese.
I watched both.
Okay,
I
I
did
only watched
English.
it in Japanese because I had some issues with some of the English voice actors in 1998.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So,
But honestly, he
And
pulled it off. In my
the
opinion.
Japanese voice actor doing that crying, oh my gosh, because it felt like real crying. This was not like melodramatic
No,
crying that you get like in Dragon Ball. This was truly somebody who has had their heart broken.
He betrayed
and is-
everything he stood for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he just completely breaks, and
Mhm.
that is my favorite
That's t- it
scene
was
because
tough
of
to
just
watch.
how raw it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And immediately following it is my second favorite scene, where he's just alone on like a rocky cliff, and he's singing that little song, that REM song
REM
for
song.
him, and it's like he's looking at the night sky, and he's just still he's still pretty much comatose at this point.
Yeah, he's trying to
Mhm.
process what's happening.
He's failing
and how
to, and
deal
then
with
Meryl
it.
comes up behind him, sings it too, sits with him for a little bit, and it's just a really nice moment, but it's
Mhm.
also really sad.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This show, for all of its crazy hijinks at time, with the random little black cat showing up.
That dang cat!
I think there was only one episode where I was so involved in everything I didn't
You
actually
missed the
notice
cat.
I missed the cat. But it has some of the deepest emotional moments in any anime that I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
My scene that has always I had a hard time finishing the series because I did not want to watch this scene again.
I think I know.
Is when Wolfwood dies.
Yeah, we
Oh,
got it.
yeah,
We
the
got it.
church.
We got to talk about Wolfwood.
Wolfwood, yeah.
Wolfwood finally completely embraced what Vash had been telling him when he was fighting his
Mhm.
father figure, who was a member apparently of the Gung Ho Guns.
Yes.
Crazy priest
And
with a
trained him.
rocket launcher machine
Yeah.
gun
The-
cross.
Yes. And
What was his
he
name? Chapel, I think. or
Chapel,
something?
yeah.
It's like
he
Chap-
fights his foster father pretty much to a standstill, could have shot him, and doesn't.
Which is a complete reversal of when he was in that situation
Mhm.
previously, when he killed another of the Gung Ho
Beastmaster
guns
Zazie.
with like no hesitation.
Yeah.
And
At all.
Zazie
Just
was
exec-
like a 10-year-old or
Yeah.
something.
Except
So-
for his
I-
voice got deeper when he was talking, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what
wasn't-
his deal
I
was,
wasn't
but it
sure if
looked
he
like
was-
If
he
he
looks like a 10-year-old.
Yeah, I wasn't
it
sure if he
looked
was a
like
real
he
kid
shot
or
a middle schooler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who, to be fair, was brandishing a gun, but it was ruthless the way
Yeah.
he
And
the way he
Vash
killed him.
kind of doesn't take it very
Vash
well. But
freaks
no,
out, yeah.
No, he freaks out.
But and the sad thing is I don't think his foster father was going to shoot him. Blue Summer's legato, I think, did it.
Dang Blue
yeah.
Summer.
But
Stupid name.
But again, Wolfwood didn't defend himself. He didn't stop it. And he just walks up to Vash, pretty much says goodbye, and then walks away, and Vash notices the drops of blood.
Blood trail.
And you never actually see his wound on him at all. You just know he's bleeding, and he walks into a church and just kneels down. He says, I've never done confession. And this is when I'm like, yeah, you're definitely not a true priest. This is probably the most priestly moment you have ever had in your life.
True moment of faith. Yeah.
Yeah,
and he does. He has a true moment of faith, which is just kind of like heartbreaking.
Yeah, he kneels and
because he actually also, I think, finally admitted to himself that he was falling in love with Millie.
Of course, yeah, her reaction too.
And
was
Millie was just,
so
oh
sad.
my gosh. Anyway, this show will break your heart.
And I never expected it. Like if you had told me, I would have felt like that about.
Oh, if I had watched the
from the first
second episode of the show, I would have been like, wait,
okay, this is just like
anime is gonna make me cry.
Never. I never would have expected it.
It's devious. It lures you in with goofy 90s hijinks, and then it beats your soul to death with a sledgehammer.
Yeah. And I've noticed they tried on some of these really dark episodes to add a little bit of levity here and there to try and make it not so grindingly dark.
But
I think
grim.
there is a little funny joke with the cat. And I think in the episode before Wolfwood's death, where they're sitting at like a restaurant together and they're eating like spaghetti and stuff. And then Vash just like vanishes to go off to do something, and there's just a cat in his place.
Oh yeah, and Wolfwood goes, "You can turn into a cat now." And I was like,
"That cat,
like,
that dang cat."
But
that's what I meant by the cat coming in play later on.
I did like that joke. It's like they had to put in some of those jokes to try and make this a little bit more lighthearted.
Not just a grim.
It was. Yeah, it's just a grim death march at the end.
Everything after Vash killing the first person, I think, is when things just get scary, man.
Yes.
Like in the scene where the townspeople are like drugging him out, like an example, and they're kicking him, they're beating him, they're about to shoot him in the head until Meryl steps in, and he's just accepting it.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, but Meryl stepping in is what gives him the strength to get up and go again, because he listens to Meryl, and Meryl's been hanging around with him long enough that she's actually absorbed, just like Wolfwood, some of his philosophy and his thoughts. And hearing Meryl voice that and voice her wishes, I think gave Vash the strength to stand up again. Because it's after that he's actually willing to, gets dressed, gets shaved, and puts on his red coat and goes out to confront Knives.
What was that quote that she used that he told her? Like, it's not your choice to make when it comes to killing people and stuff like that. Lives.
But yeah, no,
everybody has a future.
Yeah,
he had really lost his will to even live, until she came back. So.
Well, and I like the fact that he, as the last few episodes wrap up, he does express the fact that he has been following Rem's words all these times, but now he can't anymore because he killed somebody. But he's like, I need to find my own words now.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's like Rem has led him this far, but now he needs to find his own balance and his own peace.
Just like Wolfwood did, they're all, like you said, they're all kind of trying to balance different moral outlooks, all the characters. And
there's a whole lot of discussion that we could have with this anime that, to be honest, I don't really want to get into because it's way bigger than what the scope of this podcast. Because I'm sorry, you could sit down with that one episode when they're on the ship and they're talking to the spider and the butterfly,
and you could dissect that thing.
Right.
Oh,
and
you
have
could
like
have
an
entire hour-long philosophical discussion on death penalty. You could have an entire philosophical discussion on law versus vigilantism,
self-defense,
morality.
This show has more morality questions in it about violence and humanity and where to draw the line. And it's interesting because on a Western show like this, it's set in an Old West type setting with so many guns, such a hard world.
You're used to fast draws and
and
shoot the bad guy and
glorifying the violence almost.
Well, and dueling is apparently fairly a regular thing because
they have contests.
They have contests. They have a quick draw contest where one of the goals is actually to kill people.
Yeah.
This is a contest, and they're still trying to kill people. So this is kind of like taking it like to the absurd, but that's, I think, sometimes what anime does when it's trying to make a philosophical point is they go beyond
broad
and paint it in broad strokes. Because I have to admit, as I watch the show, I sometimes get very, very angry with Vash And then there's a part of me that was like, yeah, but wouldn't it be nice if we all were Vash?
Right.
And then
In a
there's another
perfect
part of me
world.
that's like, that's not going to happen. We're humans.
Right, exactly.
We're not Vash.
it says it all that how long have they been on this planet? 100 years, and they've already degenerated into like lawlessness, chaos, violence. Like
now, it's a little bit different in Stampede.
yes,
Which we will
Stampede
talk
is
about.
like a whole new coat of paint.
Yeah.
Over this
Yeah.
entire
Is there anything else we want to talk about with the original series?
the ending,
Okay, the very ending.
the very end, when the confrontation with
The
knives.
confrontation with knives.
yes, which we've been building to. Although
we have.
from I'd say over half the show, you don't even think Knives is
You don't
the
even-
true.
No, I would
villain.
say I distinctly remember the first time I watched this, like 2006 or
Mhm.
whatever. I was convinced Legato
Yeah.
was the big bad.
they build him up as
and
the big
then
bad.
it wasn't
all
until
the tropes and everything. Yeah,
and it wasn't until a little bit later I started realizing Legato has a master.
he has a supervisor.
He's a pawn.
Yeah.
He's a
He's
well,
an
not,
employee.
he's not necessarily a pawn. I have a feeling some of
He's
the
like
other
he's kind of a willing pawn, really.
I think the other gung-ho guns, some of them you can describe as pawns.
Mhm.
Legato strikes me as being like
He
almost
enjoys it.
cultish dedication to knives.
Yeah, he enjoys it a little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he does kill an entire bar. In that
Among
one
other
scene.
things.
He makes people from entire towns disappear because they talk about how everybody has disappeared from all these towns. I guarantee they're not still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that one time where he made all the adults in a town vanish and
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah,
left it to the
Just
I remember
sandworm.
walked out.
They just
Yeah,
walked
just
out and never
like
came back.
zombies.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, ooh, it's scary.
Yeah,
I'm kind of glad he's the one guy Vash killed, to be honest.
I think I was trying to figure out how much of this Trigun and the other Trigun are true to the source manga.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, you can't read the manga because it's completely out of print.
Oh, really?
You can buy digital
Whoa.
copies.
I'm sure, yeah, online.
But the physical
but
copy, I looked up the first volume, it's selling for
Really?
$90 used on Amazon.
surprised they haven't reprinted it.
I
mean,
am
especially
too,
with the
considering
new
that
show.
Stampede is
I
Yeah.
thought they
What?
would like do that. They'd reprint it for like
New
an
edition,
anniversary
yeah.
edition or something.
They haven't.
Whoa.
Dark Horse Digital has it available for purchase, but only as digital copies. And it's like 2 of the volumes are $8 each, and the rest of them are $6 each. And it's like a total of 14, 15 volumes. And I was like, I don't like reading digital manga, and I'm not willing to pay that much for it.
Mhm.
But either way, I was unable. So most people agree that Trigun 1998 veers drastically from the manga.
Oh, really?
Like it's almost
Not-
its own thing in some ways.
Do you know what changed, or because I haven't read anything about
So apparently, Knives was doing some kind of hokiness with the plants that never comes up in our Trigun 98.
it?
not-
Interesting.
Didn't
There
they bring
was-
that in Stampede?
That's it.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Stampede. Several articles I read said it's hewing closer to the manga source material.
Interesting.
I did find one article that said though it was still veering and adding its own stuff.
Okay.
So I don't think we can trust that either one of these is giving us the whole story
Mm-hmm.
of
Maybe
what
it's a little bit of both.
what the
Yeah.
author's original vision was for this.
Okay. I'm
So
curious to go
that's
online.
that's
Yeah.
So until I read the actual Trigun manga, I'm not going to say that this was the author's
Which one's
vision.
more authentic?
But
yeah.
it's still
More
really good,
authentic.
though. It's still really
no,
good.
it's still a really
Yeah.
good ending. I'm just putting that out there that this might not be the ending the author envisioned.
I'm just saying,
because-
when both Vash and Knives pulled out the biblically accurate arm guns.
right.
Well, yeah, because you first see, so they start by just shooting at each other with regular
With just guns. Yeah.
with just guns, and that doesn't go very far because they're both really good.
Yes. Yeah.
And then was Knives pulls out his angel arm,
Yes.
shoots it off, and you see like this giant ballooning, massive black
explo-
hole,
yeah.
yin yang
It's
explosion.
just like it's cosmic.
It's gigantic. And
It's honestly kind of eldritch, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this beautiful glade where they were with grass and trees, which is only I think the second time we've seen grass
Yeah.
and trees
Everything
in
else
this series.
is rocks, dirt.
The other time was in that one-off episode.
Yeah,
Yep.
which I didn't like, weirdly enough. Anyway, and you focus back in on it, and you're like, there can't be anything still
Yeah.
alive.
They
in
would have
those-
wiped it out. You know?
And they're both standing
They're
there
just-
pointing guns at each
Yeah.
other.
They're just like basically
Because
indestructible.
Vash managed to nullify his angel arm by firing off his angel arm.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they were just
they
like,
kind of canceled out, kind of.
yeah. So then they keep shooting at each other that way.
With their giant
With their
nuclear
giant-
weapon
yeah.
arms.
And the longer they have their angel
Plant
arms out,
nukes.
they get the wings. And I didn't notice the faces, but
there
I
were
guess I
like
wasn't
faces
looking-
around the ends of
Okay.
it.
I wasn't
like
sure if those...
human faces around the ends of it.
Interesting.
It's creepy.
Because
It looks really cool.
When we'd seen it earlier in the show, that wasn't even like the final form. You know, he was still kind of like holding back.
One thing I will mention, I got this from the wiki that I looked up. Apparently, in the manga, as Vash like uses his angel arm, his hair gets darker in color.
Interesting.
That would make sense.
Like after his hair is typical
kinda.
blonde and stuff, but like after he uses it in that one city after fighting the gung ho guns, his hair gets like streaks of black in it. And then when he walks back, and then at the end of after he fights Knives or something like that, his hair is almost completely black on one side.
Interesting.
That makes sense. It's almost like he's losing a part of himself every time
I can see why they
it.
didn't do that in the anime though, because that would kind of ruin that iconic look.
Yeah,
they're
the
going
look.
For.
You
they
want to
don't
keep
like
the hair,
changing the look of a character in anime, if you've noticed.
Unless it's Dragon Ball, where there's like 80 different hair colors.
Yeah. Although I do appreciate the fact that when Vash gets his hair wet, or has been bedridden for a time or anything like that, his hair isn't spiked anymore.
It does
it's
look
not
like it
naturally
would.
spiked.
Yeah.
He gels it. He gels
he
it.
definitely gels his hair.
He puts in the work. Yeah.
Rem cut his hair that way one time when he was young enough to actually have it stick up, and then he just kept it.
And then he's like, all right,
and
get
just
my
kept
product.
gelling it.
That's why I look now.
Where you find hair gel in that desert, I have no idea.
I don't know, but he's got any turtles.
There's a cactus somewhere.
Right.
Well, he has probably lost his sunglasses like a gazillion
That's
times,
true.
and he still
And he
magically
still-
keeps pulling them out of his
He's
pocket.
designed
I am of
shit.
the idea that he owns 50 pairs of those glasses, and he has them on like sewed to the inside of
He's
his
just like, all
jacket.
right.
He does wear other clothes though, because like when his coat gets so ripped up he can't wear it anymore, he's just wearing normal pants and a white shirt.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he gets in disguise, he has like suspenders and
He's got a
stuff. When he's
different
in his
outfit,
disguise,
yeah.
what's his name? Erickson is a new name. Eric's.
Yeah, they call him Eric's.
Damn it.
So
He does so many stupid stuff as Eric's. It makes me angry.
he fell off a Thomas and had to go to the hospital.
You can
That's still
survive being shot at by bounty hunters, but you fall off a horse
Right,
and
and
you
you're
get
suddenly
Well, fall off a weird two-legged, we don't know what it is.
ostrich horse.
Ostrich
some kind
horse
of
thing.
creature, yeah.
Looks like a
All right.
reptile, anteater.
I love the way that even though Wolfwood is gone, Wolfwood is still there. This was another moment that made me cry. And that was when Millie comes out because she has Wolfwood's cross with all his guns.
Oh, yeah.
And
God.
she hands it to Vash and says, "You need this." And, Vash is like, "Are you sure?" And Millie's like, Yeah, take it. And now she's like, "Oh."
And he kind of forgets about it until the climactic
and he
moment
puts
of the
it down
fight.
and
yeah.
he forgets about it, and then he hears Wolfwood's voice
Wolfwood.
going, "You idiot! Use what's right there."
What does he call him? Needle noggin, I think.
Needle
in the dub
noggin.
is that from beyond the grave.
You've got a
yeah.
literal
Beyond the
rocket
grave.
launcher.
Wolfwood is like, "Needle noggin,
Come on,
use
dude."
it."
And
And he reaches down, and
boom.
there's Wolfwood's gun, and he shoots Knives with Wolfwood's gun, which I'm like,
It's
yes,
like, yes.
that's
Yes.
justice.
Poetic justice.
Poetic
it was
justice.
awesome.
He
Yeah, that was an
didn't kill
awesome
Knives.
moment.
He just shot him in the 2 arms and
Yeah,
2
just
legs, so he's
disabled
not
him.
going anywhere.
Yeah.
And he's a little
Like-
bit in shock, too.
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of
that
burns himself out with the angel arm nonsense.
Yeah.
But that
But,
moment
like,
was awesome.
The hilarity of Wolfwood just continuing
from-
to be mean to him
yeah,
from
from
beyond.
beyond the grave. Yeah, he's not. Yeah.
Because that's one of the things he did constantly was he would antagonize
Oh
Vash
yeah.
like
Oh,
he
every
yeah.
loved
second.
needling
Oh, yeah.
him. He loved
So of
needling
course
him.
he'd come back from the dead out of spite.
Which, to be honest, I think Vash actually really enjoyed because it wasn't
They really-
done
yeah.
to be mean necessarily. It was like 2 brothers trying
Like
to.
two
Kind of,
brothers
yeah,
being mean to
just
each other.
antagonizing. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I like their
Now-
relationship.
Stampede.
All right.
All right, let's.
So, Vash 1998, done by Madhouse Animation. Sorry, not Vash 1998. Trigun 1998. The show is now called Vash. I've
Vash.
renamed it. Trigun 1998, done by Madhouse Animation. Was done, I'm going to guess, considering it was 1998 and CGI didn't really enter anime until the early 2000s, primarily by hand.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
was
And
all
you-
hand drawn.
And you can tell.
Yeah.
It looks really good in some
It
spots.
looks amazing. I love being hand drawn. I believe the animation has a rough, gritty look, which really goes with that world.
It fits
has
the
the
world
aesthetic.
perfectly.
It has
yeah.
that
has the
aesthetic.
it
this
has the
Western,
rough.
rugged.
I like
Yeah.
the character designs of a lot of the main characters. The villains, not so much.
Legato was a little much.
Yeah,
but
Legato was a little much, but he was okay.
It was his shoulders that did
The
it. for
shoulder
him. What is with the
Yeah.
shoulder pads?
Yeah, his shoulder
Is he a
pads.
linebacker?
Right.
1998 anime shoulder pads
Everything
were a
and
thing.
belts. Yeah.
And belts.
But like Knives looks good.
Knives looks pretty good.
looks cool.
He's got like a
The-
spacesuit outfit on.
The chapel guy.
Yeah,
The
the gung ho
Chapel
guns
guy.
I
He
think were
looks
pretty cool.
sick.
He was
Yeah,
scary
yeah.
looking.
And then the long shot guy, which we didn't get to see too
With
much
that
of, but with
crazy
that
long
crazy
rifle, yeah.
long rifle.
Very specific outfit I like, but the bad lad grunts.
Oh,
the bad lad,
Yes.
the bad lad gang, the
like,
grunts. I really like they're cool. I hate the leader, but I like their like
You like
grunt
the style.
outfits. It's really unique. I like
Yeah.
it. It's like
Yeah.
a weird ponytail with a gas mask on it. It's like hunched over.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
Then they announced that they were going to come out with a new Trigun show
Mhm.
called Trigun Stampede in 2023. This one is like almost the complete opposite of the Trigun we know.
Yeah, visually. it's
Visually.
just-
Visually,
yeah.
stylistically,
Physically
and through the vibes.
And tonally, too.
Totally, yeah.
Because this Trigun, we only watched the first 3 episodes, right?
I
Yeah.
actually watched a bit further.
Okay.
I'm
so
planning on watching more tonight, but I wanted to watch more last night, but I had to go
think
to
there's
bed.
12 out, and they said they're taking a break. Like,
Yeah.
I think another season
I
or
don't.
something.
I don't know if they actually plan to make a second season because a lot of anime now they just put out the 12 episodes
And
and,
that's
then it's
it.
like if we do more, we might
Gotcha.
do
we
more.
might. We might not.
But I'm
Okay.
gonna guess this one's popular enough. They're
It seems to
probably.
be
I think they did
anymore.
announce they would bring Millie in because they didn't have Millie in the first
Yes,
12
I
episodes.
know.
Yes, yes.
They cut
and
Millie.
Shocking.
the few comments I have seen online that were highly negative of the series were mostly because Millie wasn't there. So
Yeah, they replaced her with some weird guy named Roberto De Niro.
All
Roberto
right,
De
hang on,
Niro.
hang on,
Alcoholic.
hang on. So Trigun Stampede 2023 just wrapped up. I think the 12th episode not too long ago.
Yeah, I think it started in January.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a winter. It was a winter season
Yeah.
one, so it's wrapping up around about end of April. It was done by Studio Orange, and it's completely CGI animation. Now, weirdly enough, Mr. Keith, you and I
Oh,
did
in,
an entire
the
episode.
Star Wars one, right? Or
Star Wars Visions?
Visions? Didn't they do a Visions episode?
might
as
have
well?
done-
They did.
Okay.
They
yeah.
did do a Visions episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you and I did a review of an entire series that Studio Orange did
Which
already.
one?
Godzilla Singular
Oh, that's
Point.
right. Yeah, we were talking about that
Whoa.
earlier. Yes,
Yeah.
we did.
They also
Yes,
did
we
didn't they also do Beastars?
Yes, they did Beastars, but I
Okay.
haven't watched that because I've read the summary and went no. Sorry,
That's fair.
I don't.
My brother watched it. He thought it was okay.
I didn't like the idea of a high school drama that involved a wolf trying to decide if he actually wanted to date the sheep or eat the sheep.
I think it was a bunny actually.
Oh, bunny.
It's a
Sorry.
bunny.
That's-
Bunny point.
yes.
So we know they can do CGI pretty well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because most parts of Godzilla Singular Point I enjoyed.
Yeah, the visuals, yeah.
Now, you were texting me that you weren't 100% sold on the CGI.
I
Why?
liked it in certain things, like the facial expressions and some of the action scenes, but
Mhm.
a lot of it just felt, like you said in the texting conversation, too smooth.
And that is where I agree. I think the action scenes, it was really good. Like,
Mhm.
because they could get angles you can't
Yeah,
get with
and-
hand-drawn.
hmm
But in particular, when he's drawing his gun, you get all these
The
details.
close-ups of the
and
gun, yeah, and the
close-ups.
cut-
Like the
quick camera
dynamic
cuts,
jumping and action and stuff,
Well,
and the
in
Matrix-style
the third
dodging.
episode when Knives does his weird, like, knife
Crazy
thing,
transformation.
That was
Yeah.
terrifying.
That was terrifying, and
And
I don't think you could have done that
you could
well.
not
and
do
you
that.
could not
They
do that.
really leaned into the biblically accurate angel aesthetic with Knives there,
Yeah.
but they also did some other stuff with him that I thought
Yeah.
was hilarious.
So the other thing I will say, but I agree, in certain parts of the CGI, this is supposed to be a grungy, sandy, dirty world, and I don't think CGI has quite mastered.
It's a little too
not
bright.
having
It looks-
the shiny.
it
yeah,
looks
it's a
too
little too
clean.
shiny,
It's
a little
too
too
clean.
little too crisp.
I mean, the intro
Yeah.
looked cool, but
But
like
that's
it was
spaceships
too
in space, and it's shiny.
No, I
and
mean like
clean.
the anime intro.
Oh, the anime intro.
Oh,
the
yeah.
opening intro is cool, but it's leaning more. It's too clean. It's not grungy enough.
Yeah.
I miss the guitar.
right.
I
The-
miss having
the
Kurt
aesthetic.
Cobain smash a guitar over my head.
Now, I will admit, the opening song for Stampede, I actually really like it.
It
Me
is
too.
good.
I
and
really like the
it's going
opening.
on my anime playlist.
It
Yeah.
is good. It is
So-
good. It's
and
just...
I love the opening, the way they did it with like things rusting away and disintegrating, because it shows that kind of like how things are falling apart.
Yeah,
on
why
this
we
planet.
are
I
where we
wish
are.
they extended that to the rest of the show.
Yeah, because the
'Cause-
opening scene was grungier than the actual
than the
world.
actual anime.
Yeah, and they revealed Vash and Knives' backstory in the first episode.
That is kind of, they're going for a completely different type of storytelling, which I think is related to a lot of anime is now only 12 episodes.
Yeah,
I
no
hate
filler.
that.
So
By the way, I hate that.
they didn't want to do the whole tease out everything, and they might have chosen to do that because a lot of people have seen the 1998 one, so they're like,
So
well,
they
everybody
know.
already
Where's
knows
Knives?
who Knives is.
I like it because I think in the original they waited maybe a little too long to tease out Knives. Like I would have done it a little
I
earlier.
did like in the original that they gave you time to explore the world and get to know
That's
it
true.
before telling
Before
you
the
about the history of the
Mhm.
world.
Like, you got to know Vash before you knew who Vash was.
Yeah, which was kind of nice. Now,
Because I will admit, Vash is not as much of a strong presence in Stampede. I'm just going to say that right now.
yeah,
Personal opinion, he's a little
I think-
toned down.
It's a little more of like a ensemble piece kind of
Yeah,
than
it's-
just
it
his
is.
adventure.
I think because
I like his redesign, though.
I do like his redesign. That's fun.
Yeah.
I love the redesign of the Nebraska brothers.
Yes.
They look so much
They
better.
look so
They
cool.
do.
Yeah.
I like the redesign of Knives because he looks more like a religious cultish leader,
Mhm.
which is how he behaves with the gung ho guns.
He's even
Yes.
got the evil piano.
Yes,
He's got
the evil-
he's got evil
That's it.
piano.
You gotta
he
have the
wears
evil
a weird
piano.
hood thing that transforms into long knife whips.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then
by the
just-
way, this is where I am going to bring up the first 2 episodes. I was going, okay, this is probably about TV 14-ish or so. 3rd episode, we went full TV mature, people.
Yes, so be warned.
watch
He
or
carves
beware.
people
It
up like a
is
Thanksgiving
highly
Yes.
violent. Highly violent.
It got very violent very
Yes,
quickly.
so be prepared.
And unexpected.
Which,
Yeah.
to a point where it's almost kind of goofy, really.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the character redesign. I actually liked Roberto De Niro.
He's just this alcoholic, cranky
I love alcoholic, cranky
reporters.
But the
reporters,
thing
I
is, he
guess.
talks about how this world is harsh and dirty, and you got to get used to it. But then the world around him is not
It's-
harsh and dirty, and you got to get used to it.
Yeah,
It's,
it's but I love the fact they made Meryl. They made. I feel like
Millie's
they made,
not here yet.
I know. I feel like they made Meryl younger
Yeah, they did.
because she's only 23 in this one, and she's just beginning in her job as a
Yes.
reporter, not an insurance agent.
Yeah.
Which I will say that's a change I'm kind of okay with because I never did quite understand the whole insurance.
Yeah, the
agent
insurance
thing.
angle was always.
It wasn't. It was definitely creative.
It was creative, but it was kind of weird.
Reporters
But,
make
I
much
get
more
she's
sense.
younger,
yeah.
but I miss her guns.
Maybe
Oh, that's
she'll
right,
get
yeah.
them.
I miss her
I'm
guns.
hoping she'll get them later. To be honest,
She better get that cloak thing where she's got like racks of one-shot pistols. I miss those.
It
Those
does
are-
almost feel like a little like prequel element.
Yeah,
type
I thought
element
it was a
sprinkled
prequel.
In. Like I don't think it's
So,
a true prequel, but
It's not a
there-
true
yeah.
prequel because I think what's happening right now is we had remember the episode in Trigun 98 where the Nebraska brothers were attacking the town? Well,
Yeah.
where they started attacking Vash, and then the Nebraska brothers show up, and then they get the Nebraska brothers, and then they
Yeah,
fix
where
their
it's like
plant with the money.
first the town fights them.
Yeah.
and- yeah. they
So
did it.
that's
They
kind
kinda-
of retold in these episodes, but then they add more, and then they have Knives show up, and then they have all this.
and they change a bunch of things.
And they
too.
change a bunch of things.
Yeah.
And it ends on the 3rd episode with Vash headed to July, which is the city he blew up at
And
the
lost
very
his memory,
beginning
right?
of Trigun and lost
Yeah.
his memory of
So,
blowing it up.
I
I
yeah.
think they've rearranged literally some of the
Yeah.
timeline on this.
Because we're probably going to see Meryl meet Millie. We're probably going to see how they get their guns. Maybe even how they work for the insurance company. You know.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's-
kind of like a mixture of a prequel and a retelling.
Yeah.
Of their
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
story.
little
I
bit of
think
both.
I think the internet has kind of agreed that it's mostly a remake.
Yeah.
It's a retelling because they do.
So-
It has the same plot elements as far as I can tell, but they change
Kind
a lot of
shuffled
things.
around. Some stuff
Yeah.
expanded.
Like
or-
they like instead of the Nebraska family getting like arrested and the money sold, they kind of become like 3-dimensional characters.
Mhm.
Except for Joseph dies. Like
Goffsef dies.
Yeah.
Goffsef
Everyone
dies.
and I kind of like
The
way
kid dies.
they always in the 98 Trigun the Nebraska brothers are always or the Nebraska family's always talking about family and how
Mhm.
important it is and so on and so forth. I think Stampede did a better job of showing how the dad actually loves
he
his son.
takes care of his
actually
son.
does care about
yes.
his son.
Yeah.
I never really got that feeling in the first one.
Yeah, in the
Mhm.
first one they were just one-off villains, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they
So-
brought back for like one other one-off filler episode that could have easily been skipped. I did like that change, but like it also, I don't know, something about it was rubbing me the wrong way. I don't know why.
So, and I was also trying to figure out the reason why I was looking up whether or not this series follows the manga more or less than the original one is because I was trying to figure out how old Vash is in Stampede
Mhm.
because he doesn't strike me. I can believe in 98 that he's 130 years old because there's something about him that is just feels old.
Like
for
Yeah.
some
he's
reason.
goofy,
Even when
But
he's goofy.
He's got a bit of an old soul. You can
yeah,
tell.
there's something
yeah.
old
like
about
he's
Beneath the
seen a lot of
surface.
things.
Yeah.
You can
which
tell.
Wolfwood can see because Wolfwood is like you're not really smiling.
Yeah.
Wolfwood
Like, you could
sees
tell
beyond
he's
him.
You can
had
see what's
time
under
to
the
perfect
surface.
his image and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And in this one, he just gives off a much younger vibe for some reason.
He's just like a teenager.
Yeah.
pretty
yeah,
much.
he's like a 20-year-old maybe.
Yeah. I feel like,
like
he
maybe
just
early.
started,
he just
yeah.
turned 20.
Yeah.
But so that's why I'm like, well, but obviously they've been down on this planet long enough to have the plants start dying and issues start
yeah. So it's
happening
been
and so on. So it's been
100-ish
some
years.
time.
Yeah.
So Vash has got to be like maybe the same age as in the 98
in the
one.
original,
But he
just
doesn't
different
act like it.
characterization.
But he doesn't.
Yeah.
They somehow managed to lose some of. Maybe they'll find it back later. But when we first meet him, he really doesn't feel.
He's less. I guess what's the word? He's less 90s.
It's very true, though.
He's not.
Yeah.
That is very true.
He's not as over the top. He's not.
Yes.
He's not as funny.
No,
He's not as goofy.
No, not as
yeah.
goofy.
Yep.
He doesn't do the puppy dog eyes at every pretty girl that walks by.
I like
Yep.
that, but I do
appreciate. I do
Yeah.
appreciate that.
But I don't see this Vash standing up and going love and peace. To be honest.
Yeah.
He better do that, or so at some point.
iconic.
That's I don't see him jamming out to his tunes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see him crawling around the ground like a gecko trying to dodge bullets.
He's still silly, but not quite over the top.
He's not
in the 90s.
I wouldn't
way.
even call him
Yeah.
silly. He's just kind of like his silliness in the original show. It's believable silliness, but in this one, it's pretty kind of obvious he's faking it.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Like
Maybe,
after
yeah,
the
and maybe that's by design. Maybe they want you to start thinking.
and that's it. Is there's something? Oh, so fun fact: the same voice actor did the English dub. For
Johnny Young. Yeah, Johnny Young
yeah.
Bosch.
Wild.
And I'm like, okay, Keith, you're the math person. The original one came to the U.S. in 2003, so that's when they would have done the dub.
20 years.
So
Right?
20 years later, he's playing the same character, and somehow I like him better
Really?
when his
'Cause
voice
see,
20 years later than I did in the first one.
Yeah, he's really grown as a voice.
He's really grown as a voice actor.
Fun fact: Vash was his first ever anime
Oh,
role.
really?
Yeah, Johnny
Okay.
Young Bosch. That was his first ever big anime role.
Okay, Keith.
I'm watching.
before-
I'm watching on Hulu, which only has the subtitled one. So I'm completely missing out on that.
I
yeah,
did
need
watch
to look
some
up.
episodes through YouTube.
I
I
need to
had
look
to
up on
piece
YouTube,
together
yeah.
clips from
Okay.
YouTube to get
Yeah.
the experience. But
That's
I
funny, though.
honestly,
The dub is actually, I really do like the dub. On
I
this one.
honestly,
Really?
I
Okay,
prefer,
that's
I
good.
prefer English Vash, because he kind of gets
well-
the goofy part a little bit better.
I prefer Japanese Vash in the 98 one because I don't think Johnny Young Bosch quite had the chops to pull off
He
what
was-
he
he
needed
was-
to.
he was a
definitely,
rookie, yeah.
He was definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, he was good, but he wasn't.
He was young,
great.
yeah, inexperienced.
This one, I feel like Johnny Young Bosch is doing a really good job with the voice, but they have chosen to take Vash in a different way because when you listen to the English one, Vash has a sadness to his voice from the first moment he opens his mouth. That is
Interesting.
not in
Yeah,
the other one.
original. So it is by design. It sounds like
Yeah,
to maybe
he is-
hint a little at.
Well, he straight
What's
up
going on?
He straight up already tells the reporters in the first episode, "Yeah, I have an evil twin brother. His name is Knives."
Yeah, right.
The fact that they reveal that
Putting it out there,
immediately,
putting it out
like
there.
you would
Well,
have
and I love the fact
thought.
the reporters are like, "You're gonna have to give us more proof than that you're not the one doing all the killing, and really you're gonna go with the evil twin brother story."
right.
And I will
How
admit, the
obvious,
scene where he just
yeah.
kind of thunks his head against the forehead against the table because he just did not know how else to explain it is
Yeah,
funny.
That was actually pretty
And
good.
I will admit, in terms of voice work, I like Johnny Young Bosch's panic noises better. Like he sounds like Michael Jackson in some spots, and it's hilarious.
The squeals and
Yeah.
Like he
shrieking.
sounds more panicked when he's being shot at than he does in the Japanese version. In the Japanese version, he barely makes any sounds at all. But
I have to admit, I did not get to watch the Japanese version of Stampede yet. I do want to check out an episode of that, though, because Crunchyroll and I were having an argument, and I couldn't figure out how to get out of the dub one. And I was like, I give up. I'm just going to watch it.
I will admit, having pieced together the English performance for the first 2 episodes from YouTube clips, because I don't have Crunchyroll, and have watching the first 4 episodes, 4.5 in English in a subbed, I prefer the English version.
Interesting.
Funnily enough,
that's weird because you usually prefer the Japanese
yeah, funnily enough, the Japanese version, it just sounds more subdued.
one. Okay.
Like it's quieter. Like
Huh.
Vash sounds quieter. Meryl, she sounds all right,
It is
but
pretty
like
low-key,
even when
yeah.
she's like yelling and panicking, she sounds subdued.
It's definitely more
Which
low
is
key than the
odd
98.
because
yeah.
The only
Trigun
English.
should be brash and
Yeah, it's
loud.
big,
It's a big,
bold.
loud
the only
show.
characters who actually, I think their voices in Japanese fit their like expressions and their actions more is the scientist guy from the Nebraska
Yes,
family
yeah.
and
Okay.
Roberto De Niro.
All
And
right.
Yeah.
that's kind of it. Everyone else just feels kind. Oh, and Rosa, the mom.
I love Rosa.
I
She's
love
my favorite
Rosa.
character. Yeah.
But other than that,
So far.
everyone else.
I feel like the female characters are doing a better job giving them personalities.
Yeah, and
standards.
empowering-
yeah, that's true.
empowering
Because I
them
think
and,
in '98, Meryl was the only like
Meryl and Millie were pretty much the only
Meryl
like,
were
real.
it.
And now in this one, you got like a whole town of women with machine guns. Right?
Well, you had them in the other one too, but they weren't given personalities.
Yeah.
It was just they were kind of.
Now we got
there.
Rosa and her son, who was unfortunately.
Is he dead or just badly injured?
No, he's dead.
Okay.
I think she might have been the only survivor, I think, of that big last fight, right?
She was with two other girls when she was trying to
the two other girls are definitely dead.
Oh, yeah.
I think everyone, all the other town people, though.
The Japanese voice work, it just sounds not as gung-ho as the English one
weird,
does.
Because usually the Japanese are very good at
very over
It's usually the opposite, but the English was a lot more like loud and excitable and like
interesting.
Crazy.
Okay, I have to look it up and compare.
Like,
okay.
I hate to say it, but Vash just sounds boring in Japanese.
Well, as I said, he doesn't sound boring in the English, but he's
not.
He does have that air of depression and sadness,
Mm-hmm.
which he doesn't have, at least all the time, in the 98 one. So the 98 one, they go more for the goofy crazy a lot of times.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of miss that, not going to lie.
Yeah.
I miss the goofy Vash. Because at least he was actually good at putting up his front. In this one, I don't think he's figuring it out.
I have to admit, what's probably going to make or break Stampede for me to a certain extent is Wolfwood.
Yeah, I'm curious to see his design.
So great in 98.
Wolfwood. Okay, I'm going to spoil a tiny scene with Wolfwood.
Okay.
So there's a scene where they just get out of a battle, and Wolfwood, he decides to try and play up his priestly front by putting his big cross in the sand and throwing water on it from a water bottle and attempting to recite the prayer, but he keeps getting the words wrong. He's like, wait, no, that's not how it goes. Hold on. And then Meryl's like, you're not actually a priest, are you? Like, I am.
All right, that sounds
just
funny.
Forgetting all the words.
So it's a little bit like the moment in 98 where he pops the little portable chapel on the guy's head and he's like, so you want to do confession? And I was like, I don't think it works that way.
Only it's less obnoxious, I guess.
All right,
okay.
interesting.
And I think they actually kind of change it where he says he's like, oh, I'm not a priest, I'm an undertaker. Which they do that.
It's completely different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure he's just saying that because his priest thing didn't work out for Meryl. Meryl didn't buy the priest thing, so she's like, I'm an undertaker actually. That's why I don't know the prayer.
Okay. It's time for us to wrap up. You guys each have like 30 seconds to give your final thoughts. Any final thoughts on Trigun 98 or Stampede?
I like Trigun 98 better so far compared to Stampede.
Does your rating of Trigun 98 change from the last time?
What was my rating last time?
I have no
I think
idea.
4.
I think it was a 4.
I'll give it a 4.8.
4.8.
Only because of the goo eyes. Because I'll admit the 90s antics have grown on me after watching Stampede and rewatching some episodes from the first half. But I cannot I cannot condone the goo eyes.
Okay.
I will never forgive that.
All right, Mr. Keith.
I would say 4.5. I really liked the second half of the season. I thought the storylines all came together. And I'm enjoying Stampede through 3 episodes. I do agree with what we said about the aesthetic being a little uneven, but I'm glad they went for something kind of so different. I'd rather have that than a remake that just does the same exact thing.
Well, and I also think that if they had tried to follow more of the 98 aesthetic with the CGI and the difference and everything else, I think they would have gotten more backlash, quite honestly.
Yeah, so I'm glad
By changing so many things, people aren't focusing on the CGI, I think,
comparing,
as much. And comparing
but I'm glad they're at least doing something
and
new.
And in a way, it's convincing people who've never seen Trigun to try and watch the 98.
Yeah,
exactly.
Go
and
back.
apparently there's another Trigun called Trigun Maxim.
So what it is the manga series is the first 2 volumes are just called Trigun, and then he wrote like the rest of the story is Trigun Maximum.
Interesting.
So, because from what I can tell, they're tied together. So they're like direct sequels or something.
So apparently the Vash in that one is like edgier or something.
And then Trigun Badlands is like a really good hour and a half. Badlands Rumble.
I got
That's
that.
like a really good hour and a half episode of the 98
I was going to
series.
ask, isn't there a movie? And
Yeah,
that's
the
the one.
movie.
Okay.
It's like an extended episode.
It's like an extended episode of the 98 version of
Cool.
Vash.
Okay.
And it's really good and a lot of fun.
All right.
But it doesn't like continue the story from
It's
the
just
98
kind of a
series. It's kind of a
standalone
standalone.
adventure.
It's like a little spin-off.
Nice.
Yeah. And it was a fun watch. I enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it yet, actually.
I watched it years ago, but I would
I'm gonna watch it
now
when
that
I
you've
get
seen
home.
98 Vash, watch it.
I'm going to watch it now.
So my rating was 4.5 last time because I gave it a full half point for the Kuroneko because I'm a sucker for a little
kitty. The random
I have
black
to admit,
kitty.
because this is the only anime that has genuinely made me cry over the death of a character. Now, twice.
Right.
I'm going to give it a 5. Just for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
I can
I'm
believe
sorry, Wolfwood is worth a 5. And that death scene was,
Yeah,
so
it's
heartbreaking.
awful.
And Millie's reaction and just the way they handled that. It's like Millie's standing there going, "Oh, I'm fine," and she's smiling, and there's just tears pouring down her face. Oh my gosh, heartbreaking.
And she's sitting alone in like her bedroom and stuff. Like, she's like, he'll come back.
Yeah,
he'll come back. And so Millie. I'm sorry, I have to give that a 5.
The full 5.
Trigun Stampede so far, first 3 episodes. What you guys thinking?
I'll give it like a 3, 2.5.
I'll say 3.5, but I'm gonna keep watching.
I was thinking 3.5 also. It hasn't quite reached epic levels for me, but it is only the first 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It gained a half point while I was watching because I thought Knives' design with all that cloud of knives and just everything.
Design.
I was like, that was kind of a really cool
wild.
design.
I'll admit I may pick it up again at some point, but there's a very good chance I'm not gonna watch any further. I'm gonna forget about it because it hasn't made a strong impression on me.
Hasn't grabbed you.
It hasn't really grabbed me.
So Vash's coat in that, it's good, and I like the fact it's tied into the Project Seeds because it says that on there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, which is why I was having trouble with the time period of this because I was like, wouldn't that coat have like disintegrated at this point if it's 100 years?
Or did he like
old?
sew it on himself or something?
Yeah.
It just, I don't like his coat. It feels bulky and out of place somehow with
It's
him.
too billowy.
It's too billowy. That's
like
it.
It looks like it would get caught on like a lot of things. I liked like the leather straps and like the buttons and the head to toe collar of like the old coat. It's like all steampunky kind of.
But I understand why they wanted to change up his look
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit and stuff. So I can kind of see why they did that. But as I said, it's not grabbing me right away the way his original.
He looks more modern and less serious.
Yeah,
because
maybe it's because of his coat. He looks more teenagery.
He does.
He does,
and also his like hairstyle.
Yeah,
because that's a hairstyle I've
Treasure
seen.
Island vibes.
That's
sorry,
hairstyle.
not Treasure Island. Treasure Planet.
Treasure Planet.
Oh my God, you're right. And that's a hairstyle I've seen on teenagers at my school.
Yeah.
And also the glasses, the big I mean, I
More
like the glasses, the aviator glasses, but they also look like the aesthetic glasses you see on like TikTok and stuff.
And again, they look a little too big for his face, which make him look younger.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, he looks tiny, baby.
We were wrapping up here though.
We're wrapping up.
Okay. Well, thank you, Keith
of course,
and Zoe for joining me and
This was
for
fun.
doing lots of Trigun.
This was
fun.
so much
I'm
fun.
glad I finally watched
I loved
it.
your reactions
to
the Trigun final half of the season. I loved hearing your thoughts on that.
Yes.
I was like, I watched it. I'm like, they're gonna love it.
We're gonna love it, and we did. Yeah,
we did.
It hurt.
I loved it way back when I watched it the first time. It's one of those series I've always meant to rewatch and never got to. So I'm glad we had this opportunity to sit down and revisit that.
Absolutely.
Of course, now I really want to read the manga and it's out of print.
Yeah. Right.
Dang you, passage of time.
Hopefully, the worst thing is I think I used to see volumes of it at the thrift store.
Oh, gosh, should have grabbed it.
I'm like, I should have grabbed it.
Just please do a reprint for Stampede. That's what I'm hoping.
At least I don't even care if you change the covers or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll do one of those deluxe editions. Anyway, I am glad you all joined me, and I'm glad we had a chance to watch this. And I have no idea where we're watching next month, Zoe. So, but it's time to have some serious anime discussion.
Be in for a surprise.
Okay.
So, and
I can ask my friends for recommendations.
Yeah. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and if you have any thoughts or comments, listeners, to what we've been talking about, there is an email address in our show notes that you can email us at.
Please give us recommendations.
Yeah. Well, I have a list.
You got a list.
I got my own recommendations.
Your own list.
I have my own list.
More would be appreciated.
More would always be appreciated. We do try to not review too much stuff that's rated TV mature. So anyway, you might have noticed that. Yeah, the caterpillar's still just hanging out
just
there.
Chilling.
He's just chilling.
He enjoyed our
I forgot
discussion.
how squishy they are.
Reggie the second is just chilling over in his little bucket. And if you have a friend that loves anime and you think would enjoy this podcast, feel free to share it with them. We do have a blast doing this, and it's been a lot of fun with both of you
It's
here.
been so
It
much
has.
fun.
It's been cool.
I love it with one other person.
Yes, there's a lot more discussion.
It's so much more fun.
So, and with that, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.